Wait for it. Wait for it. Who am I? You sure you want to know?
What does that make us? Sidekicks?
It's the Trusty Sidekick podcast with your hosts, Jay Washington, Bobby Hill. What's going on, everybody? We are back once again. It is another episode of the Trusty Sidekick podcast. I am your resident supervillain, Mr. Jay Washington.
And I am your resident superhero, Bobby Hill.
What's going on, man? It's been another week, man. You still in Chicago. I'm still in LA, so how's that going?
Yeah, I think we've got like 1 or 2 more weeks of this, and then I'll be back out there, which is exciting because I get back out there kind of right after the second half of the seasons kind of kick off, and the new Agent Carter comes in, and Legend of Tomorrow starts. So I'm pretty excited about that, but it's been good. Chicago's been good. I did a great show on Thursday called Still Not Friday. Which
Told
is a
you.
show run by
I told you.
Yeah, that's a good show. That's a really good show. Matt Drufty does such a good job of running shows. If you're in or around the Chicago area and you're free on a Thursday night and you can get out to Aurora, come to Still Not Friday because he runs a great show. It's a Two Brothers Roundhouse. I'm obviously not going to be back there for a little while since I just did, but he always has great people up there. He always has great comics up there. I was able to do the show with Jordan Holmes and Angela Vela, and they both rocked it, and the crowd was awesome. It was a nice full house for that, so that was pretty cool.
I did that show, and I had such a ball doing it. I didn't know what to expect, especially with the room being so big, but it was just so much fun. And like you said, Drufty does produce a great show out there, and I get my hats off to Matt Drufty. So
yeah, he works so hard. And for people who are listening all over wherever they're listening from, when you're a comic and you're trying to make it, that's kind of a thing. At some point, you have to decide: are you going to be the kind of comic who tries to go on the road and tries to find your opening that way, or are you going to try and find a shot through TV or through clubs or whatever the case is? And Matt has a couple things going on in his world that kind of put him in a position where he doesn't have a whole lot of weekend free time, that's troublesome for comics who are trying to do certain things. Mm-hmm. But he's carved a really, really nice niche for himself out in the summers where he's got a nice control on things. He runs some really, really good shows. He's got a lot of great respect from people here. It's one of those things where, you hope that somebody finds a way to give him a bigger shot somewhere that will allow him the freedom to kind of walk away from some things that are keeping him from getting able to get out of there, because he's also funny, which is he's not just a guy who runs good shows, he's also funny.
Right, which is also a very big important thing.
Yeah, and he just kind of runs things. He's got some good people working with him out there, but I mean, he's a driver of the stuff that goes on, which is kind of crucial.
That's good, man. That's good.
So I did that on Thursday, and then I'm actually doing Chicago Underground Comedy on Tuesday, which is cool. I'm pretty excited about that. I haven't done it before. It's one of the longest running shows in the city. I think they're just having their 10-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. And nowhere in the first 10 years did I get to see the show. But better late than never, right? Better late than never. Hopefully I'll be one of their favorites this year. But no, that's another great show. It's a indie alt show in the city. It's at Beat Kitchen. It's Tuesday night. It's a 9:00 show. It's changed hands over some of the people who've run it over time, but now the Hansons run it. Jeff, Ed, Sidney Davis Jr., Louis Cardenas is part of that whole crew. Sam Ashford-Kale, I think, is one of the producers on there. It's another fun show. It's one of those shows where if you're around in the city at 9:00, you need to come check it out.
It's definitely a fun show. I love it. I love it personally.
Yeah, Kristen Toomey's headlining this show on Tuesday, and she's another one of those people who, like, as soon as someone sees her in a place that's outside of Chicago, they're not going to want to let her come back here because she's too amazing right now.
Yeah, man. Shouts out to Toomey. Shouts out to all the great comics out in the Chicagoland area still doing their things. There's so many that are still left, as opposed to those that have left already and moved on to either New York or Los Angeles here. Man,
fuck those people.
That's how you feel? That's how you feel? That's how you feel? In the shit out there recording right now. What's
going on out there, man? How's the settling in process? I know it's still happening. happening.
Yeah, it's still happening. It's a matter of, just still getting used to everything, getting acclimated. It's been fun, man. This week was a pretty good week. Wednesday got a chance to do the Haha Cafe for the Workout Wednesday show. That was a fun time, man. After that, I went and hung out at the Improv. I stayed at the Improv in Hollywood for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So Monday, I ended up running into Dave Chappelle. For those who don't know, Dave and I are both in the Chirac the movie, which you can still catch in select theaters and on digital HD. Got to chop it up.
So that's still in theaters?
It's still in select theaters. It's the numbers are lower now. It's not all the theaters.
You can catch it on Amazon.
Definitely on Amazon, iTunes, Vudu, a bunch of other places. Every place but Netflix.
Right.
And then, like I said, that was Monday. Tuesday, I ended up going back to the Improv after I just did a couple open mics, just hung out. Ended up getting a chance to chop it up with one Dane Cook. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because it's...
How'd that go? I know there's, people are kind of either okay with Dane Cook or hate Dane Cook.
Right, but that's how it is with a lot of people, with a lot of comedians. Let's just be honest.
Of course,
people have a love-hate relationship with it. But Dane was on the Jay Davis Presents show. Now I met Jay Davis when I came out here before, but I was at his show at the Parlor on Monday night, and he was telling me he had a show Tuesday at the Improv. So I was like, okay, I'll stop through, come through support. So I went through and saw Dane Cook on stage. Now here's the funny thing: I've opened up for about 3 or 4 Dane Cook openers. And on regularly. So I was like, you know what, let me introduce myself to him, just talk, not play the casual fan, just, cool person. So I was telling him about that and how I normally open for Al Delbini, who's one of his best friends since he was 14.
Sure.
So it's like having that 6 degrees of separation between myself and Dane Cook. So I got a chance to chop it up with him then. Like I said, Wednesday, did Workout Wednesdays at the Haha. Great time, great lineup, had a lot of fun. After that, we ended up back at the Improv again, hung out later that night, got to chop it back up with Owen Benjamin, hadn't seen him in a while, so it was good to run into him and talk to him. Thursday, I was at the Ice House in Pasadena for the 10 for 10. It was so much fun, and it was even great because I got a chance to open up for one Arsenio Hall, and I've been an Arsenio fan. Yeah, because a lot of people only know Arsenio from the movies and the talk show, but people forget that Arsenio's actually an accomplished stand-up comedian.
Is he an accomplished stand-up comedian?
Hey, he has his name in neon at the Comedy Store.
Right. True.
It's in neon, not just written on the wall. It is in neon.
Right.
So
that does mean something.
So I got a chance to talk to him. Super cool guy, man. It was an honor doing that. Yesterday, just floated around, did a little bit of open micing, meeting people, just trying to still get the name out today. Just floating around, just been doing all that, man. So it's just been, getting acclimated further to the whole LA comedy scene and, figuring out how it works and just watching these comics that you see that are on the level you want to be at. So like, okay, I got to go up some more. I can't be content with where I was. I got to go higher now. So that's been what it pretty much is.
That's the thing that's crazy too, right? Like you've met a couple people over the past week. You've run into 3 people who are celebrity people who, for the most part, the public has an opinion of one way or another, right?
Right.
When it comes to Chappelle, everybody likes Chappelle or thinks Chappelle is great, and then everybody's got an opinion over why he gave up Chappelle's show. Like there's all the conflicting stories, despite the fact he's pretty much come out and said why he kind of gave up on the Chappelle show. But there's always conflicting stories about people's thoughts on Chappelle, but still everybody just kind of likes him, right? But there's always a supposition about who he is as a person. And then, of course, you have Dane Cook, who, by and large, I'll be honest. I used to listen to Dane Cook stuff when I was younger. I like Dane Cook stuff. Some of his new stuff has been fine. I haven't listened to as much Dane Cook as I did when I was younger. That's probably true of a lot of people. But I think that there was the one little stupid incident, I think, where he went off on stage on somebody and it turned into it was one of the original things that happened at a comedy club that went viral where everybody went nuts. And then so there's a lot of people who formed opinions that are very anti-Dane Cook. Either they are not a fan of his comedy, or they believe they've outgrown his comedy, or they just don't think he's a great person. But you have a personal experience with him that creates a whole different situation because you talked to the guy personally. And us talking about it off air, it seemed like he was a nice guy who wasn't mean to you or a dick or anything like that.
Not at all.
seem like a regular, perfect guy who just may have some comedy that isn't what everybody else is into, or what some people aren't into. Maybe somebody's peers aren't, but obviously some people are because he's still making money as a comic. And then, then last you have Arsenio Hall, who, people have an opinion of him as a performer. They've always thought of him as kind of like Eddie Murphy's, wingman on camera for a while. Everybody wanted to have his own show and how that whole thing happened and went away. And people are very unsure probably of how Arsenio Hall is as a comic, but there's an opinion about him too. And it's kind of interesting to kind of have those three experiences with people that, have a public persona as far as what people think of them, but you have individual experiences with that person, and it becomes a totally different thing, right?
Yeah, man. It was, like I said, and that's the thing for me that I've always wanted to gather. I wanted to get that whole personal experience. I can look past the whole comedic element because, again, just like we've stated, everybody ain't for everybody, plain and simple.
Right.
Everybody ain't for everybody, so I can get past that. The thing that I always want to get to is how are you as a person? Are you the type of person where if I'm around you, I'm like, yo, you're cool, I just like talking to you, you're cool, you're laid back, or are you the type like, yo, I would push you down a fucking flight of stairs?
Right. And on that brings us to the first thing we're going to talk about this week, which is a thing that literally just dropped like 3 hours ago.
Yes, it did. Zack Snyder. Yeah, Zack
Snyder on Twitter drops a new teaser trailer for Batman versus Superman, which kind of echoes what we've been talking about, right? We're talking about people who have a persona that you think is one way, and then you have to try and meet them on your own and see what happens. And that's obviously what's going on between Bruce Wayne's character and Ben Affleck's character is Bruce Wayne and Batman, and then Superman on the other side. See how I spun that in?
Yeah, I liked how you tried to do that. But here's the thing.
I went a long way, but I got there.
I mean, you went the longest damn way. But here's the thing. The trailer was just a teaser for those who saw it. It's on Twitter. You can go to Zack Snyder's Twitter, and it's probably everywhere else, so you're going to be able to find it easily. It really was just showing how – it's not even showing how. It's a little bit dark. It shows Batman trying to run into Superman with the Batmobile. He hits him with the Batmobile, and the Batmobile spins out. And then we get the infamous line from the original teaser that we had was well, do you tell me something? Do you bleed? You will.
Right.
We finally get that line and where that scene, where it all fits in.
Yeah, there's a couple things I pick up in this trailer. For one, what the hell is Batman doing? Why are you just driving a car, Superman? Like,
hey, you take chances, bro. You gotta take chances in this situation.
Why are you just throwing your whip at a dude that's taking down whole buildings? You know what I mean? Like, you already watched him tear down a building. That's why you have an issue with him. Now you're just going to drive your whip at him? Come on.
It's either that or whip your hair back and forth.
If I was Batman's insurance company, he would be let go so quick. There's no way I would.
First of all, who the hell is insuring? How did you have that meeting? How did you have that meeting to go sit there and tell me so? Hello, because you got to have the most horrible Batman voice ever. Hello, I've got this mobile. I'd like to get insured. Can you help me? Now somebody from Affleck got to walk up to him with some Affleck. No, we can't do that.
There's no way. He ruins every car he has. Every time he has a Batmobile, he's got to fuck. Every movie, he's got to fuck up his Batmobile somehow. I don't get it. Why can't he just have a Batmobile that makes it to the end?
Because he has to have different things. He can't just. I mean, why can't he have one to make it to the end? I guess because he realized he has an unlimited source of them.
They always do that, man. They don't give a fuck about Batmobiles. And nary a movie do they give a fuck about a Batmobile. It always gets destroyed somehow. The other thing I got in this trailer is, like, you see how simple, like, Superman's powers have become to him. Like, he's standing there, Batman asks him, do you bleed? And then Superman just like, fuck this, and just, like, goes out of there quick as shit. Like,
again, this to me, it echoes the sentiments of what happens in the comic book world actually later, where Superman he flies into the sun itself and becomes a god. Like, we're getting that early in this, so I'm kind of like, ugh. I just don't. I don't know, man. I guess I don't. Again, I'm trying to wrap my head around everything. The whole Batman fighting Superman. I get that it's been done. We know it happens. We know they end up at a stalemate almost at the end of it. But the fact that you're gonna weave in all these stories at one time behind that, That's the only problem I'm having. And I know a lot of people who I've been reading a lot of stories online. I've been listening to a lot of different entities talk about it. They're worried about, will this just be a giant clusterfuck? Let's just call it for what it is.
Right.
They're all worried about that. And I hate to say it, I agree. I mean, granted, we're 2 months away from it now. You know, the wait is almost over, which bro, I'm not going to lie to you.
March 25th.
I can't even believe that. March 25th is the end, you know, the return of that. It's like, yo, it's January. The first week and a half, 2 weeks of January are done.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah.
So we're
this
almost.
Is about to be one of the flyest seasons for superhero movies and shows that you're going to see of all time. I wouldn't say of all time. It's another one of those major summer blockbuster years. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty dope one. You got Batman, Superman, the release of the entire Justice League kind of coming on everybody. You got Civil War that's happening this year. I mean, there's a lot of good shit coming.
Man, you got a lot on deck. Now, let's go. Speaking of Superman, let's go to Superman's little cousin. Oh, ain't that cute?
Supergirl.
Supergirl. I you know what? I have to get this. This is my only problem. I have to get with. I get past, shall I say, in Supergirl.
Yes.
The cinematography. Because a lot of times
the best.
It is not the best. A lot of times it looks so cartoonish. You know.
Well,
go ahead.
You gotta try and figure, like, the more special effects shows that you do, the more diluted. Like, it's kind of like when you start adding teams to a sports league. Like, when you're like, okay, well, we had 24 teams, now we're going to expand to 30. Well, I mean, do you have 6 more teams worth of people that are good enough to play at that level? Or do you have some people that are kind of good enough to come close to playing at that level, but, you don't get all the talent all the time. Here's where I'm going to disagree with that, though. 6th or 7th show.
But here's where I'm going to disagree with that. Again, because this show is in the Arrowverse. And then you have Flash. Flash uses a lot of special effects. It lives off special effects, especially with all the metahumans. And it looks beautiful. It looks so well done. I don't know what it is about this show being on CBS that I cannot just get past the fact that it's like, oh, this is a comic book show, because that's how it looks.
I would say that a lot of the stuff that happens on the Flash, when they get down to the actual, like, the stuff that really requires the CGI, a lot of it still happens at night. And by it happening at night, you're able to hide some things because you're operating in darkness or indoors. Mm-hmm. And there's still a lot of Supergirl stuff that happens there's still a lot of daytime to the Supergirl heroism that goes on. There's still a lot of daylight that's happening when you're seeing special effects. And I think that I think it's a harder thing to pull off. I also think that by the time you get to Supergirl, the budget that you try and do a show like that on maybe becomes less than what you're working with on the Flash when you're trying to get your second show up versus when you're launching your third. Now, we'll probably find out when we get to Legends of Tomorrow. If Legends of Tomorrow has the same production value, then it's either a CBS issue or it's just an issue with that show where they just have the wrong people doing cinematography on that show.
I guess. I think that's the thing. I have to say I guess on that one because, again, I've seen the trailers for Legends.
Right.
The trailers for Legends looks amazing.
Looks sharp, right? It looks really, really good.
It looks really good with the trailers for Legends. So I'm really aboard that, you know what I'm saying? But again, even with the trailers for Supergirl, they look like what we've gotten now. Now, again, granted, we'll get to the episode in a hot second. We talk about the acting has gone complete leaps and bounds over where it started.
Yeah, I almost cry every show.
What?
I come close to tears almost every show.
No. We don't need to go no further. We stop the show right here. What?
Every time Melissa Benoist breaks down and I see her struggle with a thing, I just want to. I get soft.
What?
Yeah, I feel bad. I feel sad that Supergirl's having all these issues. They're super white girl problems. They're super first world problems, but she has them, and I feel bad for her.
What? Because here's the thing. I have found
man,
myself.
I got a heart, you know?
I have a heart too. I found myself getting emotional on a lot of issues on The Flash and Arrow. I will say this, okay? But those shows warranted, okay?
You cry when Slade Wilson finally got his. I know.
Hey man. Hey, I need you not bringing that up, okay? It was a very tough time. It was a very tough time in my life. I can't even watch. I can't even watch.
We didn't
season
talk for like 2 days after that.
We surely didn't. I had to regroup.
You're like, I'm gonna cancel the show. I'm not free right now. I'm struggling.
I'm dealing with a lot in my life, okay? I don't.
The most depressed you've ever been.
I bring that up, but I try to get past the way this show looks. I try to get past the way it's shot. It's cinematography, and because now it makes me glad that we won't get crossover episodes out of this.
I think it might be a little. I think it might have a little to do with CBS. I think that there are some breaks on at CBS that kind of prohibit maybe either expenditure and TBS has a ton of money. It's not that. I just think that they might be not as willing to put that money out towards certain things. That's the nicest way I can call them, potentially cheap.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they have the money to put out towards certain things, or if they've possibly, sometimes you just assemble a team that isn't the best at getting the work done. I haven't looked into who's responsible for the effects on that show, but I'd be interested to see how that goes. Now, it may take it a minute to build up too. Like I've seen some shows where it takes it a while to figure out what it's doing. I'm maybe 10 episodes in is too early to kind of drop the hammer on it for not being up to par, but hopefully it improves like Melissa Benoist's acting has improved.
Yes, man. So let's go into the episode Blood Bonds. It starts out automatically. We get the recap of everything that had happened before the mid-season break. We go right back into the fight with Kara and what was dude's name? Non. Right. I want to say Nod for some reason. From Kara and Non, we go back to the fight with that. Tears up Max Lord's Industries. This, that, and the third.
And they take Hank.
And a tank. And then they take Hank. And here's the thing. Hank gets captured, and you hear her sister say, look, you might need to go ahead and transform. Like you might not.
This is great.
She's like, you might need to go ahead and do this.
And he's not willing to give up the ghost. He can't. He's willing to hold cover enough that he's going to get captured, and he does get captured. And then, of course, you realize that okay, they've got Hank, and the DEO has Astra. So obviously, there's a trade that's going to potentially happen.
Right.
General Lane comes in, who is the classic heel, good guy, bad guy. The guy who's in there trying to do good, but he's going to be bad while he's trying to do it. He's the
Thunderbolt Ross. He's the Thunderbolt Ross of the DC universe.
He's a Talbot. He's a Thunderbolt Ross of the universe, and he's not going to put up with any shit. So he takes over the DEO. Kara's falling apart, because once Hank is captured, she's getting fired. There's also the side story of Kat, believing that she's Supergirl, and then believing that she's holding her back while she could be out saving people during the middle of the day. And basically, Kara's like, "Well, shit, I still gotta afford to eat, bitch. You can't just."
Hey, I was waiting on that line to come out too. Like, fam, if I am Supergirl, do you think I just have a house to have a house? Okay, I need to live.
Who's gonna pay for all this food I'm gonna be eating to keep the energy up to save all these people? I need this gig. Don't fire me.
I was noticing that too. I was like, you just gonna fire Shorty? Shorty got bills.
Right. Yeah. Unless you're going to give her a salary to stay home, which would be a great deal, but that's not going to work. So she's struggling. You know what I mean? She's dealing with the possibility she's going to get fired. General Lane's taking over. Her aunt's still scheming a bunch of shit. There's a bunch of craziness going on. And, of course, Jimmy Olsen steps in again to give her another pep talk and let her know what it takes to be a hero. He's kind of like Superman kind of being there. He's kind of like Superman's voice with Superman not there. Jimmy comes in
and speaking of Superman, I'm going to wait till we get to the end of this episode because I got a bone to pick, and I think you already know what my bone to pick.
Your bone.
You
I know. And the episode kind of plays out. The episode kind of plays out pretty simply. You know, there's a lot of trust issues that are going on throughout the episode, and wondering about trust and being able to really trust somebody and where people fit in. And Kara's relationship with her aunt is the big deal of how that plays out. And she decides to go ahead and return Astra for Hank. She makes that deal with the trust that she's not going to get double-crossed. And, of course, Nan is ready to double-cross her, but Astra shows a sign of humanity and has him step down.
Right,
and
which
then,
is cool.
You know, so they escape without there being any damage done there. And, of course, then Caroline finds out that Hank is Martian Manhunter or John Jones, and seems to be super cool with it. She's pretty excited.
And she
immediately uses it.
Oh, wait, the greatest part was when she was like, I can keep a secret. Both her and Alex was like, no, you can't.
That was great.
It's like,
that
no, you can't. Now,
and then she immediately uses the fact that he's Martian. She's like, oh, you can shapeshift? Cool. I need you to hook me up.
Could you
be me so I can make sure I can keep a job? And they have her show up. They have Supergirl show up. Martian Manhunter as Supergirl show up while Kara is talking to Cat Grant, and she's ready to quit and all that stuff. So it's it's a classic save of the secret identity. For another few weeks, Cat Grant's not going to believe that she's Supergirl, and so the secret continues on, which I like. I like the idea that there are people that don't know who she is.
Unlike Oliver Queen,
yeah, everybody knows who he is.
Like, I don't think Barry's identity is more of a secret than Oliver Queen's is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, everybody knows it. Like, oh yeah, that's the Arrow. I mean, it ain't nothing. Listen, no. Like, what?
I mean, the reality is, how would you not know that's the Arrow?
According to Curtis, the jawlines don't match. The jawlines don't match. So you find out.
Is that what Curtis says?
Yeah, he put his. Everybody does the hand up over the face, and
right.
And jawlines don't match. And that's exactly what he said. The jawline don't match. Like, that must be the advantage of the hood. The hood must almost disorient seeing the jawline the perfect way. I don't know.
Throws off the jawline. Who knows?
Whatever. Now, we found out that Max Lord is making a super weapon to take out not only aliens, but also Supergirl.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be a problem at some point. They're layering, which is what they've done with their other two shows they've had on so far. I expect them to happen with Legends, but they're creating things that are going to be consistent issues and problems that'll pop up over seasons with these characters that I like. And they set up some cool stuff. Like 2 episodes from now, the Toyman will be out, which I think is a cool deal. It's going to be somebody who's going to be Wynn's father, so there's going to be that. That father-son, and obviously that's going to be a father-son issue that's going to be able to play out. It'll be interesting because every show so far of Supergirl has kind of been this thing of her having a struggle as Supergirl, learning lessons as Kara, usually through Kat, and then figuring out how to grow as a person and what comes out of it. So, that's kind of similar to how they start things off, and then once they finally get a good foothold on who some of these people are, then they can really delve into some of the storytelling, which I'm hoping ends up happening.
Now, yeah, I guess, but let me tell you,
you've got a bone to pick.
At the very end, she is instant messaging Clark, who first thing come out his mouth, yo, you need me? Like, they're teasing so much that Superman is going to show up on the show.
Yeah.
And again, I believe in my heart of hearts, if Superman shows up, I need them, again, even when Kara was talking to Astra about having Clark come in to help torture her, I think they need to stop referencing him for a while because you're constantly leaning on Superman. You're not letting Supergirl be Supergirl. You're leaning on Superman in this show.
Yeah, I think it's time to kind of let him go and kind of realize that, like, he's got his own shit to handle where he is. She's got her own shit to handle where she is. And she's got her side of the country on lockdown, and he's going to go handle his, and they can leave that at that. And ideally, they would not have to reference him as much anymore. It's only when this family shit pops up that they decide to do that anyway.
Yeah, which is every episode.
So far, yeah.
9 episodes in. So let's stick around for the DC universe, man. A little bit of Arrow news, Arrow and Flash. Actually, the whole Arrowverse news, pretty much. Arrow, it's something interesting is about to happen. I heard about this, and you did too, because actually when you sent me these notes, Diggle is actually going over to Flash, and it's not for what anybody would be thinking. He's going to help Barry deal with King Shark.
Yeah, I think it's the whole Diggle plan that's going over. I think Mrs. Diggle's going to help out with an issue with King Shark. And I'm not sure first of all, I'm gonna be real excited to see King Shark on another episode.
Yes, I am.
Because the glimpse that we caught of him was nice, but definitely not enough.
Not enough at all.
But also, Diggle is kind of a no-nonsense kind of a guy, and he fits in kind of oddly with the Flash universe, which is a little bit more laid-back, fun, more into trickery with the weapons that they use to defeat an enemy versus just shooting them and beating the shit out of them, which is Diggle's kind of forte.
I would like to see. I can't wait to see the interactions with Diggle and Cisco.
Oh man, they're going to struggle to get along for sure.
It's going to be real interesting to see how that happens. Now,
yeah.
Speaking of the Flash, I heard of this a day ago. I was reading this and I dug it because I love what they're going to do with it. Robbie Amell actually is coming back as Ronnie Raymond, but he's not Ronnie Raymond that was one half of Firestorm. That Ronnie Raymond supposedly is dead, gone. Right, that's not coming back. He's going to be Ronnie Raymond for Earth 2, who is actually Deathstorm.
Right.
And the biggest thing they're talking about is because, of course, we're going to get Killer Frost, who's from Earth 2, will they be in a relationship then?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to play out. I think, there's some chemistry there. Obviously, they keep trying to find ways to bring Robbie Amell back. They obviously like him, or his brother has so much pull with the people making the show.
I thought they were cousins.
Listen,
I thought they were cousins.
Oh, I'm sorry, his cousin. That's right. Every once in a while, I feel like he's just like, listen, can you hook my cousin up with another gig for a little while? So. And that may be like, but I like Robbie Amell. I liked him on the Tomorrow People. The show is kind of rough, but I liked him on it. So hopefully he gets a stay of execution somehow.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it'd be nice to see what happens with that. So that's all really news we got of those two shows. Now let's go. You got some Legends news, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Just some casting news. Jewel Staite, who some of you might have seen in Serenity or Stargate Atlantis, is going to be coming a Legend of Tomorrow. She plays an inventor from the future who's got ties to an undisclosed DC character, which I think is going to be pretty cool. I'm not sure how she may play into the overall storyline. I'm not sure if she's going to stick around for a while, if she's going to have a bit part in the show. But it's going to be cool to see her added on. She's had, she's got a good sci-fi history to her, so we need to see her tie in there. But that's pretty much the only stuff going on for Legend of Tomorrow. And I think right now we're just kind of ready to see the whole thing kick off and explode and explore where that universe goes. It's the teasers. Every teaser they come out for, it looks great. I'm not completely sold on the guy who's on the character who's playing Hawkman just yet.
Nobody is.
I'm struggling with him. I just, when I see them in group shots, I struggle because in the comic books, Tater Hall is always a large.
He's a large dude. Yep.
He's always been almost Thor-like in size, like a 6'3", 6'4" kind of big guy. And here, I mean, if that dude's 5'10", he's on stilts. I mean, I don't buy him as an imposing figure at all, which makes it tough to get into that. But we'll see.
Now you feel the way I feel about Batman versus Superman. I'm glad we feel it's about damn time.
The whole first season is going to be dealing with Vandal Savage, so obviously it's going to play a heavy part, right? Those guys are going to play a heavy, the Hawkman Hawkgirl situation is going to play a heavy part in what goes on. So, I'm excited to see what comes of it. I hope that Hawkman isn't going to be the superhero and the lead for everything. Ideally, Rip Hunter looks like he's going to be the main guy running the show. But I'm also excited to see, Captain Cold and his brother get the business on there too. So
okay, so let's go into a little TV news. There's actually two tidbits of TV news involving the DC universe. First off, Teen Titans is dead. It's not going to happen.
They're looking at doing that. They've been talking about it for a while, but they don't have anywhere to go with it. And I think they've realized they don't. There's too much other shit going on. They've got there's about to be 4 DC shows that are on 2 different channels already. They're getting ready to bust this whole Justice League thing going on. I think they're just trying to keep themselves in check a little bit.
Well, you can actually add another show on another network. I don't know if you heard, but NBC has ordered a pilot for a DC Comics Universe comedy, a half-an-hour comedy called Powerless. Now, what this is, it focuses on the lives of ordinary and powerless insurance workers in a superhero-filled world. Kind of brings up the whole thing about insuring the Batmobile. Now, they say it's expected, though, this show to feature cameos from some of the major heroes like Batman and Superman. They won't be involved, though. Those two won't be. But you may get, like, the Green Arrow. You may get the Flash. You may get the Green Lantern. You may get Cyborg, Hawkman, Hawkgirl. So you never know, bro.
Interesting. I like that. There was Alex Ross, I think, did the artwork for a comic book years ago that was there was a small, I think it was a series that they did. But I don't remember. I don't have the comic book memory that I used to have, but he did a series about the people that were just kind of living in this world where there are a large amount of people with superpowers, and kind of like that daily interaction where in the midst of your day, some guy might fly by you while you're trying to just get a latte from somewhere. And so that wondrous idea of like what happens when you're, because for most of us, I mean, if superpowers were a thing that existed or if they already exist,
don't you say if they do, they exist. These people are real.
But for most of us, if they existed or if they do exist, like most of us don't have them, right? Like most of us are just regular people. But if Batman showed up in your city, you would just be in a city that Batman lives. It's like finding out that George Clooney just moved to your block. You know what I mean? It's like, oh shit, this guy is here every day now? Okay, well, occasionally you're just going to see George Clooney getting the mail. Like occasionally you're just going to see Batman flying down off of a building at some point.
If I see George Clooney move to my block, I'm automatically going to assume that they're gentrifying the fuck out my neighborhood. Automatically. It's the only thing I assume.
No, you can no longer afford to live in that neighborhood.
Because George Clooney moved in. Like, bro, you don't understand. Like, bro, my neighborhood just changed off one person. They're like, what you mean George Clooney moved in? Huh? Right? Exactly. Like, yo, George Clooney moved in and the whole neighborhood with the shit. Ain't no more greasy spoons around here. All of a sudden, there's a Trader Joe's where there used to be a Church's Chicken. I don't know what to do with my goddamn life no more.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. So, I think that's kind of where it stands on that. So that's the reference I have for that. I think that's been a thing that everybody's had an interest in talking about or covering is, what's it like to just be regular people in a superhero world where you don't have the powers. So I think that's kind of a neat thing to be covered.
Cool. Now let's switch gears, go over to the Marvel Universe. Not a lot, but some of what we have does have substance. You got Thor. There's a little news for Thor that I know that you have.
Yeah, I thought Cate Blanchett was a lot to be in this next Thor Ragnarok that was coming out, which first of all is the most punk rock, that's the most punk rock Valhalla name of a movie that you're ever gonna Thor Ragnarok sounds like that sounds like a hair metal band conference that's going to be going on.
Thor Ragnarok sounds like a lot of people in Doc Martens and cargo pants with chains.
Sounds like a lot of white dudes with long blonde hair is what that sounds like.
That likes saying the N-word.
Right, but Cate Blanchett is not a lot to be in Thor yet, although she did express that she would be pretty happy to do so. So I don't know what the holdup is, but give her a role in the stinking movie and let her have at it. Because I want the respectability that comes with having Cate Blanchett in a Marvel movie.
Like, give us Cate Blanchett, do it. Doctor Strange has got some new photos out again, which is cool.
Yeah, there's a ton of new stuff coming out. I mean, I think obviously before too long we're going to end up with some kind of a trailer, which would be great. There's pictures of the Sanctum Sanctorum, which is cool. For those of you that aren't familiar with Doctor Strange, the Sanctum Sanctorum is basically his house on what's that, Bleecker Street?
Yeah, up on Bleecker Street.
and it's kind of a Doctor Who-ish kind of thing where it looks like it's a small brownstone on the outside, and then you walk inside and there's all types of mystical shit going on in there, which is pretty cool.
Cool. I'm excited for this. Now, this is some big news because it actually ties into something from the DC universe at first. Daredevil. We finally got the official release date of Daredevil, and the reason we had to get the official release date was because of a rumor that had spread that had sent shockwaves throughout the entire comic book movie universe. And that,
go ahead.
And that was the rumor that Daredevil Season 2 was going to release on March the 25th. Now, why is that date seems so familiar? Well, earlier we just told you that's the release date for Batman versus Superman. So everybody...
That'd have been hardcore. Because here's what's hardcore about that. So Daredevil obviously is all of the episodes are released on one day. So when that comes out on that Friday, you have access to all of them, which is definitely more than 2 hours worth of viewing, which is definitely worth a free night if you have one. And to have that come out the same night as Batman versus Superman would have been super hardcore. That would have been a shot to the bow.
That would have been one of the most gangsterish shits. Could you see? If that was official, I could see everybody in DC and responsible for Batman versus Superman losing their mind.
Oh man, it would have been real. I mean, it would have almost been worth moving up the date even by a week just to beat that. But then you're giving away that that's a problem for you.
Yeah, that's all you do. You instantly give away that like, yo, this is going to cause problem. But here's the thing: the date is not 3/25. It's actually 3/18. It's the week before. So I guess Marvel wanted to play fair a little bit. Now, I don't know if that's Marvel just saying, listen, we're going to just worry about us because we know of the response. Or it's like, could be there's some people in Marvel's front office who do we really want to test it against DC in this movie?
Right. Yeah, I think Marvel made a smart decision because, by the time you go see Batman vs. Superman, you may have already digested most of that season of Daredevil, depending on how binge happy of a person you are. Most likely I'll have Daredevil done by the time Batman vs. Superman comes out. So you've got this ability to kind of digest what Marvel's got before you can even get to the DC stuff. The cool thing is that, you can go spend money on Batman versus Superman, and as long as you're already a Netflix customer, you're not paying anything more than you were already paying to get all the Daredevil stuff, which is great.
Yeah, this is true. And I mean, the little teaser trailer, all they did was the trailer they did, the little teaser that Netflix released, it wasn't much that even gave you anything. It was just a recap of the previous season.
Yeah, I want that poster though. I do
want that poster. I do want that poster.
I could really use that poster to put somewhere. I promise I wouldn't put it above my bed, but I can't really promise that.
That is really disturbing. Now, I don't know how... Now, we got some news on different things still in the Marvel Universe, and I've got something too, but I'm trying to figure out... Here's what let's do this first. Let's do...
Yeah.
And the biggest news in the Marvel Universe, Joss Whedon is officially off.
Yeah. He did a long talk somewhere over the past week where he was discussing his involvement now in the Marvel Universe. And he says at one point he was kind of he toned it down to just being kind of like a consigliere who would just kind of come in and make sure everything was running smoothly and that nobody was kind of running away with what they were trying to do. But he is officially no longer involved in any of the Marvel properties at all. And it was not there's no ill will, there's no anger with anything. I think he's still, he's not even... I know that his brother kind of does a lot of work with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but Joss isn't even a part of that anymore. And I think it was just a matter of, just to want to create some different stuff, which I can respect as an artist. As a comic book nerd, it's kind of tough for me because I couldn't imagine getting a shot to write or be in charge of what's going on with the Marvel Universe or have some say in the Marvel Universe and ever wanting to officially give that up. So I struggle with that a little bit, but respect for what he's done. I mean, he created this amazing thing that we have now that DC's obviously in the mode of, putting out their version of what he's already accomplished, which is amazing.
Now, well, for me, this is where my problem, my hurt comes in. He was the main force behind the Avengers movie. We know he's not directing Infinity Wars. We've got that, right? But not only was he the driving force behind that, he was a consultant on all the other films to ensure they all stayed within the arc, so they all flow together. So my problem and my question becomes, who picks up those reins? Who runs with that to make sure, hey, we need to make sure this in Doctor Strange happens because this has to go all the way around to Black Panther or Infinity Wars itself. You see what I'm saying? You know, we need to make sure so who picks that up?
So the Russo brothers are going to be they're directing Captain America: Civil War, and they're also directing both of the Infinity War movies. So I would assume that the Russo brothers have kind of taken the reins with what's going on with Marvel. And, you know, Kevin Feige is still the guy who's in charge of everything that's going on there. So I mean, the TV properties are not something that Feige has as much, you know, day-to-day motion. And I think he said that, you know, the TV universe and the movie universe isn't as tightly connected as everybody wants to believe as far as being able to cross things over. The TV universe kind of references stuff that's going on in the movie universe, and the movie universe sets up some of the events that allow things in the TV universe to happen. But outside of that and the first couple things that happen with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there isn't that tight of a connection between what happens in one universe and the other, even though they're connected. So there's some oversight with that, but I think the Russo brothers, with them, you know, they're already locked to do both of those the next two Avengers movies. I think they're the ones who have the say in making sure that whomever is helming the different films is keeping them in line with where the Infinity War movies have to go.
I'm hoping so, man. I just got my fingers crossed on it.
I like the Russos, man.
I do. I mean, I don't have a problem with the Russo brothers. It's just I'm hoping that they keep. I can understand them saying that, yeah, it's not as major as we think, but I've always felt this, and you and I have said this on the podcast, outside the podcast, everything. We've said this. The TV shows, they play a small increment into keeping you updated because, remember, there was such a gap between the movies. You needed something. And granted, now that we have so many more TV shows, they don't have to all play as significant a role, but they got to play a role. So, Agent Carter, man, some new pics have come out for that.
Yeah, I don't know if you started watching season 1 yet to get yourself ready. If you haven't, I'm still saying catch it.
I will.
Here's the thing. I don't know what your hesitation is. First of all, it's a fun show. It's a fun show to watch. It's a period piece. I know, you know, as black people, it represents a period that we did not have as much say in. And so there's not a lot of black people in the show. But the show is good, and I think that, like I said, I think on last week's episode, when you see some of these female characters who were running shit in some of these other Marvel and DC properties now, part of it is because Agent Carter, in its first season, laid some groundwork where you can go, oh, look, here's a female lead in a comic book-based show that is entertaining, that does well, that has a decent storyline. I think it's a super empowering show. It doesn't make the men look like complete pieces of shit or incapable. It doesn't make the women look completely incapable. It still works in the time period. I like it. I think it's a good show. Season 2 is coming. January 19th, I think, is the date that it's coming out. And they released some new pictures. One of them including Whitney Frost, who's going to be played by Wynn Everett, who, if you don't know from the comic books, is also known as Madame Mask. She's got a big time criminal background. She's the daughter of she's Juliana Nefaria, the daughter of the Nefaria crime family out of Italy. And so this is one of the first major arrivals of an actual comic book villain. She's been aligned with the Hood and a couple other people. She had a romance with Tony Stark at one point in the comics. So it'll be interesting to see this character in the show and how big of a bad that they kind of set up for Agent Carter in season 2.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna catch up on it. I'll make it my business to catch up this week. Speaking of things that based off of S.H.I.E.L.D. and whatnot, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually has another spinoff. Now, we can call Agents of Carter a prequel, but ABC has officially ordered the pilot for Marvel's Most Wanted. And it's a spinoff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's gonna revolve around Adrian Palicki's Mockingbird and her ex-husband Lance Hunter. So they're going to be the main stars of this series. So it's going to be, again, Marvel is constantly building up their TV universe as well.
Yeah, and if you have the same type of writing and storyline that you've had for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that you get for that series, then I like those two actors. I think their characters in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are strong. I like the dynamic they have with each other. I think they can carry a show. I think they'd be just fine carrying that. I mean, she was set to be Wonder Woman at some point. So,
right, I remember hearing that.
And so she flipped teams. She's flipped teams, and she's running wild on the Marvel side. But I think she works as Mockingbird. I like the idea of it. They've kind of upped her character's abilities as the season has gone on, and I think that'll be a fun show to watch too. So there's so much crazy stuff coming on. There's some other stuff coming on from Marvel to FX and the Fox also.
Oh, what you got for that?
So and this got greenlit a little while ago. They're finally starting to make some moves forward on it. Marvel has greenlit the series Legion for FX, which is I know they've signed at least somebody to play the female lead. Rachel Kelly's playing the female lead. She's a relatively unknown actress. She's been in Fargo and a couple other things. This is a show that's based on the X-Men world, so this is going to be tied into the X-Men, the X-Men universe. That's the side that Fox kind of has their hands on. So it's going to be related to those things. So you can say mutant, you can say X-Men. The main character, who is Legion, is actually, his real name is David Haller. That's the main character in the show. If you're not familiar with the comic books at all, David Haller is Professor X's son, Charles Xavier's son, who gets taken away from Xavier early on. Or I don't think Charles knows that he has him early on, or he gives him up early on. There's a couple different histories depending on which series of the comic book that you're reading. But he's in a mental hospital. He believes he's a schizophrenic, that he's hearing voices, and it turns out that he may not be hearing voices. He may be hearing voices, but they may be actual people, not just voices in his head. So it's the showrunner is Noah Hawley, who's from Fargo. I haven't watched Fargo yet. But
I heard it was good. Everybody told me Fargo was good.
Same thing here, and I've got the first season ready to watch, so I just need to sit down and watch it. But I've heard it's good. I love the movie Fargo, and this guy can take the movie and turn it into a palatable show that goes on and on. I'd be excited to see this, because it seems like it's kind of an anti-hero who kind of finds his way, developing his powers as he goes, which will be interesting. And the powers are, telekinesis and telepathy, which are fun powers to play around with.
Okay.
And then the other show, that seems like it should be a neat show. I mean, I like the idea of that. The other one that's coming, Hellfire, is coming to Fox. The title's tentative, but it's currently called Hellfire. It's coming to Fox. The crew, the people who are creating it, it's a bunch of guys who worked on and the new Star Trek movie. The showrunners are Evan Katz and Manny Koto, both from 24. So they're going back to Fox. Obviously, Fox likes them. It's a show that's going to be set in the 60s. I don't know if you saw the first was it X-Men First Class?
First Class, yeah.
They used the Hellfire Club in there, and the Hellfire Club were a bunch of high-powered mutants who had a bunch of money. This show is going to be set in the 60s again, based on the Hellfire Club, and it's about a special agent who learns a woman with some special abilities. She's helping secret millionaires take over the world. So pretty much in line with the same Hellfire Club setup, but on Fox. So I'm excited to see where both of those go. I'm kind of intrigued by that whole Legion series, because it seems like, there's a lot of, again, that climate that worked with Jessica Jones, with playing with mental illness and PTSD and things like that. I think when you're dealing with a character who may have schizophrenia or who may just have special powers, I think it has a chance to play into that as well.
Well, like I said, I always find myself a little bit, taken aback with these shows that are based in the past, because they don't leave much to the imagination as to what can happen. You know what I mean? With the whole who can die, who can live, because it in the stories.
Right, yeah, you'll see. I mean, the reality is, of course, you see certain things where that this person's going to have to make it because they haven't had the baby who marries the other character in the movie that you saw later on. But there's still the element of getting there, and there's still the things that they can reveal as far as, this is the first time this thing happens, and it'll becoming a part of what happens down the road. So, I like the idea of being able to see how we got to that point in Wars, or seeing the other side movies, or seeing solo film about a character, how they grew up, or whatever the case is. So the thing about these shows, the ones that are from a previous time period, is that you've got this opportunity to tell stories, and they kind of go off on their own. Like when you're dealing with Agent Carter, you're dealing with a series that has kind of gone off on its own. So, yeah, at some point back along to the things that will get into the future of, shows like that. There's a ton of different stories and things that are happening in characters without having to, have with the knowledge of that doesn't matter,
I don't know where you're at recording. But wherever you were, all of a sudden it just went digital. Like your phone was like you were saying something your phone didn't want you to say. Like your phone, like your end with your microphone was just like.
My phone does not want you to watch Agent Carter. That's what the deal is.
And you can't blame that on me.
I'm gonna blame it on Verizon. Is what I'm gonna do.
So that's pretty much, man, all we got for this week, man.
Yeah.
We're still gotta wait another week. I mean, yeah, we'll get Supergirl again this week.